Hello. Hi. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake.Show. I am Chris Fisher, along with Sam. You're a little breathy back there, huffing and puffing, are you?
I know. Just got out of a meeting and ran up here. Just made it.
We have a really cool studio at Bake More Pies in Tampa, Florida. It's really cool. One of the reasons it's so cool is because it is so far away from everything else in the building. You have to go walking through, these corridors, and next thing you know, there's this narrow staircase that goes up into middle of nowhere, and then this door opens, and this room is black, or it used to be nothing but black until we put some stuff on the walls. But yeah, it's a little bit of a trek.
Just a little bit.
A little bit of a trek. If it were me at 45 years old and 250, got on the scale this morning, 250, back up to 250. I wouldn't be able to talk right now if I did what Sam just did. I'd be going, good morning. Let me play a video for you.
Ran up the stairs.
Let me play a video for you, and we'll be right back. Before we get to stuff you should know, breaking news as of this morning, very sad story coming out of St. Pete in my neck of the woods. My wife and I just moved to South St. Pete at Pinellas Point. I think we've been over this, that a buddy of mine who is a Pinellas County sheriff, when I tried to pull that on him, he was like, "What? Where do you live?" And I told him where we lived. He's like, "Man, that's not South St. Pete. Don't try to act like you live in South St. Pete." Good morning, Boo Ray Perry. How are you, Boo Ray? Boo Ray Perry, by the way, a lot of great photographers here in the Bay Area, and Boo Ray Perry is one of them, and a great professional as well. If you're looking to get some photos done, Max Cooper, how you doing this morning? Max, are you? So you're gone? Are you in Minnesota? That's it for you? You're not coming back? I miss you, man. I miss you a lot. I wish you were here. I wish you could help me design, like come in here, take a look around and go, oh, I like what you're doing. Now, let me put my Max Cooper touch on it and turn it into something spectacular. We do, but Max, let me show you. I am going to take one of the cameras here and show you around the room just so you can get kind of a view of things. So let's go ahead and click to camera number 2 there. All right, so we'll start at the back of the room there. You see, okay, well, this is kind of funny. For those of you that are in any kind of like audio-visual industry, you'll go, what is that fancy light right there? What is this amazing light right here? And the answer is, that's just a regular old light that you would put up in your garage, like if you're working on your vehicle. And here's why. They have a big chute downstairs in the psych room today. And a psych room, by the way, is one of those like infinity walls where the floor just flows into the wall itself. It's like 80 feet long or something like that. It's a huge room. Anyway, they got a huge chute. They need all the video equipment in there and all the lights in there. So what I'm left with is none of the professional stuff that we usually have, those Black Magic. And again, this is inside baseball stuff, right? Or Black Widow. What are they called? Those cameras, the really nice Black Magic camera?
I don't know.
All right, I think they're Black Magic. But anyway, really nice. And so today, but what we are left with today are like these two little handheld cameras like this that are mounted on the wall. One's a Canon, the other one's a Panasonic, I think. And
it's Black Magic.
Black Magic, okay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so like little cameras that you can get for, I don't know, 80, 100 bucks. I think these things probably go for. So the light you see is a light. The light that is shining on us today is a light from the garage. And then her light is, whoops. What am I doing? Oh, I forgot. I took this camera away from Sam. So Sam's light.
That's better content anyway. Come on.
I don't know if you can see that or not. But it is a light that's supposed to be used for people that are doing like webcasts. You just set it up next to your computer. So that's the extent of our lighting today. Whoa, back up. There we go. Hey everybody, how you doing? All right, so Max, let me finish the tour of the room. Okay, so that's the back of the room. As you can see, there's Joey. Oh, where's Rox? Where's little Roxy Bear? Oh, she's right in the middle of the floor. All right, so back of the room there, we got a little couch, some cord. You see some soundproofing and paneling on the wall there. As we come around, Cords, more soundproofing. And Cords has thrown up some shiplap there. We got this really cool painting of the Tampa Theater as we come around the back of the room. And then that shiplap continues a little bit there. So that's what we're working with in here. Now let me get the camera properly back on you before we get into things today. All right, so that is that. Where are we here? Let me do this. But one of the cool things that I like about days like this is it reminds us that this kind of a show can be done without, we don't have to get too fancy.
No.
We have it. We want to. And
Improvise.
especially like chords, because I'm like, let's just get this, like hunk of junk up and run it. I'm like Han Solo. I just get the hunk of junk moving forward. I got Chewbacca. You're Chewbacca in this analogy. I've got Chewbacca.
I wish I could do the noise.
I've got Chewbacca, and if things go south, well, she'll just start kicking shit, and everything's be fine. But chords is a little bit more of your making sure everything looks good, and is that kind of stuff. And speaking, well, you just walked in the room as we're talking about them.
What are we talking about?
Oh, we're just talking about the X's and O's. It's all chords. All right. So, good morning. Yeah, Black Magic. Jason Hurst, welcome back. How you doing, Kim? Raymond, you need a reclaimed wood bar. I may be able to help you later this month. A reclaimed wood bar. What do you think about that, Chords? Maybe
sure.
Maybe that's what we'll make that right there. Instead of it look a desk, it's a reclaimed wood bar.
Yeah, I love it. Is he suggesting helping out with that or whatnot?
Oh yeah, Max Cooper is a good buddy of mine. He's up in Minnesota right now, but his line of work, he owns a company called White Trash Wizards, and they build sets for television and movie. He and his brother run that company.
I love the idea. There's a mill for anybody who's lives around Tampa that's watching this. I actually don't know if it's still there, but I used to go there all the time because I drove by it. It's called the Crossroads Mill.
Okay. And
it's up at the corner of 41 and 52? And what they do is it's a cypress. It's a reclaimed wood. So it's not actually reclaimed, but it looks reclaimed because it's been sitting outside. But it's a huge wood mill.
All right.
Full of all of this wood and everything else. And you can get brand new cypress and whatever cut way cheaper than like Home Depot. But it looks amazing. In fact, we just sold our house and we made some shelves out of some really beautiful, the kind of like modern components, but the shelves were all like that weathered wood,
right? And
they explicitly wrote in the contract to not
leave it.
Yeah, to leave it. Yeah, exactly. That they liked it. So.
All right. Well, I emailed Cord this morning. I know you're very busy, so thank you for swinging by today. But I emailed you because where'd my story go? There it is. Because I came across a story that made me think of you a little bit. Now, when I first pulled up the story, it is a story about 50 little social etiquette rules everyone should follow, right? And it's got this, picture of some mom back in the, 50s or whatever, one of those classic black and white photos. So I started going, at first when I pulled this up, wait, oh, it's not going to be one of those. On my phone, okay, well, we'll see. These annoy me because it's just clickbait. Those bastards, they sucked me in, they got me. It wasn't clickbait this morning on my phone. It was, I could scroll through every single one of them. It's clickbait now, though. What I mean by that's obviously they'll get 50 clicks from you if you want to go through this whole thing, which then helps them out. So anyway, when I first saw this, Chords, I thought it was going to be something that set me off like, here's the problem with, the world today and kids and blah, 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 blah. And I thought it was going to sound like some old fogies just pissing me off, right? But as I went through this, I went, I like it. 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 And so I thought, all right, we'll talk about it today because this will lead into a good discussion of how we should treat ourselves, each other. How do we, the expectations of how we treat the other people here in the world, in our communities, in America, and around the world. And then that made me think of you because you're a Southern gentleman. You
try to be.
Now listen, I don't know if you feel uncomfortable when we start talking or when I start talking like this, like I'm putting you in the billionaire class and I'm saying I'm low class and there's no way. Yeah. You're from this. I love the way he put this the other day because we were talking about the side of the tracks. So what side of the tracks are you on or from?
What I said the other day was I'm from the right side of the tracks, but I'm like.
What do you mean the right side of the tracks?
I'm next to the track.
Right. It's the rich side of the track. It's not the right side of the track. It's the rich side of the track. But he said that his family was on the tracks. Even though they were on that side of the tracks, they were on the tracks. Yeah. But don't ever feel like you have to downplay that. Your past is your past. Everybody's got, where they come. That doesn't mean that says anything more or less about you. And that's the way I see things anyway. To me, you're a good dude. and you've inspired me in many different ways. I want to say thank you for. I want to say thank you for allowing me to gestate here in this space and allow us to grow what we're doing here.
Yeah, of course.
And so anyway, let's get into some of the etiquettes, because
Sure.
I'm from the he's from one side of the tracks, I'm from the other side of the tracks. So etiquette growing up, was this something that was beat into you, for lack of a better term?
All right, so I've never told you this, but actually,
You went to debutante school?
so no, it wasn't called debutante school where I'm from. Like there were debutantes, and that stuff always kind of like annoyed me.
Okay.
But I did actually go to like a manners class once when I want to say in 5th grade.
Is it because you needed it? Was it enforced by the school?
No, it wasn't by the school. It was just something. It was part of like the community. Growing up in Augusta, Georgia, all the moms. It just seemed like, I mean, that's where like Garden and Gun magazine is like really popular. Southern Living and all those things, right? And so
Garden and Gun I've heard of Southern Living.
Yeah.
I've never heard of Garden and Gun magazine.
Yeah, check it out. It's exactly what you think it is. So it's like pages and pages of Paisleys, and just like beautiful meals and old antique furniture and things like that. And people who have really invested a ton of money in designing their interior design of their homes, and maybe everything's monogrammed. I mean, it's everything.
Garden and Gun. 1 year, 6 issues, 1998. Yeah. There you go.
Like, let me give you an example.
Garden and Guns.
So this dog right here
is famous?
No, so that is an English setter.
Of course it is.
A lot of people look at that and they think that's some kind of Dalmatian, like a long-haired. I had one of these growing up.
Aw.
So I got one of these when I was 16 years old.
Is that a hunting dog, I guess?
That is a hunting dog. They are designed. Hunting dog. That's a hunting dog. Those types of dogs, like this lifestyle, like where I'm from, the official dog that everyone grew up with were labs and golden retrievers.
All right.
Like here in Tampa, it's pit bulls. You know what I mean? It's like they're everywhere.
He's right. I can't deny that.
Exactly. If you go to West Chase, it's labs again. I mean, it's just you just notice things, right?
You come to Pinellas Point and St. Pete, it's Yorkies and, Malteses.
Right. So anyhow, but that is an English setter, and I had one of those. I actually adopted another one later on, but that's that's kind of the lifestyle, the culture. That's what we aspired to in Augusta,
All right.
where I'm from.
Well, let's go over some of these rules. And I know I don't have a lot of time with you today. You're a busy man. But let's go over some of these rules. Start in the very beginning here. It says, say please and thank you, especially to those closest to you. So when I saw that, I go, okay, I like number one. I like number one a lot. That's that's the culture I come from. Please, thank you, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And I know it's something of a pet peeve for a lot of people too, when they do something for somebody and there's not a thank you that goes along with it. And the first thing that pops into my head is opening doors for people or letting people in on traffic. Like, it'll set people off. If you let somebody in that traffic, thing, and they don't give you a little wave, it sets people off that they didn't get that acknowledgement that they allowed you to come into traffic. And the same thing with, I open the door for you and somebody else walks in their cell phone, doesn't acknowledge it, it bothers them to their core. Mm-hmm. So where are you on that? When say you open a door for somebody, do you go
as much as possible? I did it this morning at Wawa.
All right, the person that is on their phone, they don't even look you in the eye, they don't say thank you, they just walk right in. Does that bother you at your core?
No, it's their problem.
Thank you. Same here. Because I know there's definitely a split on this one. It does not bother me at all. If I open the door for somebody, they walk in, they don't acknowledge me, in my head, I just a little giggle, like they obviously have a lot of stuff going on right now, because otherwise I'm sure I would have gotten a little nod or a little something.
Yeah.
All right, please and thank you. A big one. I like that. Smile is next up. At the cashier, the bank teller, your coworker, even if he or she doesn't smile back. Smiling. Sure. I know we're on the same page in this one. Also, going through this, some of the stuff reminded me of Dale Carnegie too.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. Because
that's one of the things that Accord sold me on the Dale Carnegie class or course on was, it's almost as if you just kind of went back and sat down and listened to your grandparents tell you the way you should treat people. And that's kind of the fundamentals of it.
Yeah, I think the theme and through all of these is dignity. Treat people with dignity and respect.
So here's the next one, 3 out of 50, making the world a better place. Hold the door for the person behind you. And if someone holds the door for you, always say, thank you. But we just talked about that, and I'm a hold the door for, sometimes you get caught in that weird area. Like, are they too far away? Is it going to seem weird if I'm sitting there holding the door? But 9 times out of 10, I'll just take a deep breath and hold the door. Who cares if I'm sitting there for another few seconds?
Yeah, and maybe try smiling at them too.
Yeah, and then smile. And if they don't say thank you, it's okay. And this is going to be in here too.
Yeah.
Because we'll get to one. We'll get to one coming up that is talking about how, like, if you don't get the response you want, or what, allow for somebody to be having a bad day. If you don't get the response you want, you don't get a please or a thank you, or they just seem curt, don't just immediately be ready to go, oh, I know that kind of person, and jump down their throat. Take a step back and go, I don't know what they're walking. I have not walked a mile in their shoes. I don't know what they're going through right now. Yes, they seemed like kind of a jerk, but I'm not going to dump all of my shit that I've been holding on to all of my life on this one person because they didn't give me a please or a thank you. Step outside to answer a call. Now, this is a tricky one because for some people this is easy, but if you're hustling, if you own a business, you're a sales guy for something, you're a realtor, you've got calls in all the time that you have to handle. Is there an etiquette there, or should other people just understand we live in a busy world and don't think that everybody just has to, step out of line to go take a call?
So I think for this one, for me, is if I'm in a situation where me having to connect with that phone call, like, number one, is someone already talking to me, right? So if someone's speaking to me, I'll like silence it, I'll get right back to them or whatever, or try not to let it bother me. But if me taking that call imposes on you that now you have to stop talking, or like people next to me have to stop having a conversation because they're trying to be respectful of me to like not speak while I'm on the phone, like, I don't want to basically impose on anyone else because I'm not trying to boss people around or anything like that.
You're in line at the grocery store, your phone rings, you have to take it. You only know it's going to be a few seconds, 30 seconds, but you have to take it. Do you step out of line, or are you good right there in line?
I'm guilty. I'll answer the phone in the grocery store line.
Yeah, as long as you're not obnoxious, you're not yelling or whatever. Yeah. I think you can do that.
I'm not turning in coupons or having to do all that. So,
and I think people these days need to really focus on this next rule, and this is the one I just brought up a second ago, and that is give people a pass. A cranky salesperson, nasty driver, you have no idea what's going on with that person right now. Did her dog die? Did he just get a bad health news?
Yeah.
You don't have to reward ugly behavior with your own nastiness, which only perpetuates the cycle.
Yeah, it's a great way to de-escalate the situation. If you're not playing a role and making it turn into like something that boils your blood, like...
And this is a hard one because I think when we run into a stranger who then is impolite, who doesn't give us that thank you, that please, that not whatever it is that we need in that moment, because we don't know them, we can then project all of our clap and go, that is that kind of person, and immediately turn into that, and you start taking out all the crap you've been holding on to and you've probably been doling out to people at work, your boss, your spouse, your children, and putting it all on some stranger because they didn't give you that one moment. They didn't give you the smile you thought you deserved in that moment.
I think that's the trap. If the trap is to take one thing that someone did and attribute it to who they are as a person.
Right.
Right. It's like, what's that behavior that you're not liking right now? And like, what do you, is it that big of a deal or whatever? I mean, it's that behavior you don't like. It's not necessarily the person necessarily. I mean, if the person always shows you that same thing, then maybe they are that person.
Right.
But it's if you just can disconnect it, it's like that thing that they did is what's bothering you.
Right. And this goes back to, I think, something that I learned when I was doing the Dale Carnegie thing, and that had to do with condemning. Because in those moments, we have a tendency to take that thing that just pissed us off and then condemn that person. That person now embodies that whole thing. And that's not fair, usually, to that person. All right, so this was, if you're just joining us on the Wake.Show this morning, good morning. Max Cooper, damn, I miss Wawa. Man, I miss Wawa too. Farmer Bill. It's been a long time. Holy crap. Farmer Bill. Of course, that goes back to like when I was college boy, the intern at 20, 21 years old, 22 years old, starting off my career in Orlando, Florida.
This guy, Farmer Bill?
Farmer Bill, yeah.
Y'all work together?
No. He was if I remember, if this is who I think it is, I want to say he was a very passionate listener of Doc and Johnny, the show that I started on.
Welcome back.
Back in this would have been 92, 3, 4, and early 5.
That's awesome. Glad you found 95. Chris again.
How funny that is. So thank you so much for joining. This is the Wake.Show. It's something that he and I started back in November with Johnny Torres. And we're taking this to the next level. We've come to my personal page to kind of let people know that we're ready. And what we really like to populate the show page, which is the Wake.Show. If you type that in Facebook, the Wake.Show, and don't put a space in between the Wake and the dot and the show, go to that page, like and follow. And by the way, what's going on with these out? Let's talk about damn it. There's a lot of things I want to talk with you about. How much time do I have with you?
We got 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. Where do I go from here?
Well, do you want to go through some more rules real quick?
All right, we'll go through some more rules, but I want to talk
rapid fire.
I want to talk to you about Restream too. Do you know about that, or is that more her wheelhouse, Sam's wheelhouse?
Probably both.
Both? Okay.
But yeah.
Because at the same time, then I want to talk about how, like, yesterday I'm getting my hair cut, and we're asking people to follow so that when we go live and stuff, they get a notification. But is that true that if you hit follow, you will get a notification when we go live?
It's so on some platforms, absolutely. Okay. So, like, for example, if I follow you on YouTube, I'll get a notification every single time. And like to Restream, so we're going live on YouTube as well. So you'll be able to get a notification from your phone, like, hey, they're live. Mixler, I get a notification, they're live every single time. Facebook, it's not 100% of the time, but it's more likely you'll get a notification if you're following.
Because my barber, Lisa Daniels, I mean, she's probably more of a hairstylist, but I'm just trying to be cool. She was giving it to me yesterday. Well, I follow you and I like you and I want to know when you're on. And it's not giving me my notices. I'm like, okay, let me call Mark Zuckerberg and see.
So do it on YouTube. So just tell her to follow the Wake Show on YouTube, and she'll get it every single time. All
right. So let's go through a couple more of these etiquette things, and then we'll talk about what the hell Restream is reposting every 5 seconds. Next up, look at the person who is speaking to you. Is that really a much of an issue?
Yeah.
Really?
I would definitely think so. Because what if you were talking to me and I was doing this?
You're right. You're right.
I'm not making you feel very important, am I?
You're right. Since that is not part of my, like, that would never be a thing with me unless it's emergency. And I would, like you said, I go, excuse me for 1 second. I have to, let me do this.
No, you're really good with it, actually. You're really good about that.
Because that kind of stuff does bother me. Look at the person you're speaking to. Also, and I don't know how much truth there is to that this generation, allegedly, the millennials have some issues with anxiety, it seems, social anxiety, but also some empathy and looping, like connecting with other people. And of course, everybody's blaming it on they grew up with their faces in their phones, and of course they don't know how to interact with people. But I have noticed throughout my years a significant amount of people that it almost seems like they can't look you in the eyes when they're speaking to you. There's always like they're looking to one side of you or the other. And then I've read that is a sign for some that, well, they could just simply be uncomfortable, but of autism as well, that they can't get, they don't focus on your eyes.
Yeah, you got me, man. All I know is that that's definitely a good thing. Like if I'm speaking to somebody, I'm going to try to, or vice versa, I want to try to look you in the eyes.
All right, this next one is a little bit out of the realm of just basic politeness and etiquette, I think. This is next level stuff. Let someone get in front of you in line. Now, we're taking the politeness to a whole nother. Now, this has to be, of course, if you are, you're not late.
Sure, right.
You're not late. Yeah, by the way, Farmer Bill, yep. Yeah, that's him, the same Farmer Bill going back to, so that's 25, 6 years ago.
That's fantastic.
Bill, it's great to see you again, man. Have you ever just, you've had plenty of time and you just went, you saw an older person behind you or somebody and went, or a veteran, or somebody in the military, and said, sir, after you.
I did it last night at Publix.
Really?
So, yeah. So somebody looked like they were in a little bit of a hurry. I could tell they were kind of like trying to speed to that lane. And I was like, please go right ahead.
Okay. All right.
I mean, some of this stuff really works out because if you give something to somebody that costs you nothing, but gives them, like, for example, every time somebody comes here to the office, the first thing we always do is offer them something to drink. Would you like some water? What can I give you? Well, there's something called the law of mutual exchange.
Is that the same thing as law of reciprocity?
Yes, absolutely. So, like, you've done nothing. I mean, it really hasn't cost you anything. It's probably made you feel a little bit better to give that to somebody, anyway, that position in line. So, if, who knows? Maybe you drop something, they'll reach around and pick it up.
I'm with you on. I'm with Cords on this one. I don't know how much truth there is. I just kind of live my life that there is this. I don't know if it's tied into karma or whatever, but the law of reciprocity, which is basically you kind of get what you give, right? Basically.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it makes me feel good, like, to give. It absolutely does. I don't care if it's a water or just somebody like let them cut me in line. Like it's no problem.
I'm with you. Let someone cut you in line. All right, next up, cough or sneeze into your elbow.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is just polite or this is like health stuff, like this is something the CDC puts out.
Well, all of these have to do with being conscientious. So like if I cough into my hands, like cover your mouth. Okay, I'm going to cover my mouth. But then like, okay, see you later, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to hold that hand.
Yeah, but now that I'm back up to 250 pounds, it's not easy to bring my elbow to the front and sneeze into it. I got to come over my moob in order to get to it. Shoo. What? All right. What's next? Learn people's names. This is so hard, man.
Yeah, that's one of those Dale ones, man.
It goes a long way. It really does.
Yeah.
And I know that I have lit down dozens, if not hundreds of people over the years.
It's unfair. It's unfair, though. I mean, you're talking to like hundreds of thousands of people, and how in the world could you possibly know everybody's name? It
still bothers me to my core. I feel like it's something that I don't know, because here's the thing. I am just a consummate people pleaser, and if I let somebody down, it doesn't matter if I could help it or not help it. It bothers me to my core.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, they probably realize that you can't remember everybody's name.
And you're right. And I definitely am harder on myself than I need to be, because I know most of the time people go, no, it's okay. You meet a lot of people, but it's that couple of times where that look in their eye is like, oh, I thought we had such a connection. How could you possibly forget my name?
Well, that's the magic of radio, man. That's the magic. That's
what I have to be careful with. That's using my magic to get listeners, but I have to understand that there sometimes is there's something else that comes along with that, because it's real.
Well, you prove it. You prove it. So we all believe that you are that person who wants to know everyone's name, because just look at how you act in the Facebook feed and in the messaging feed. When people jump in and you recognize, hey, there's a loyal listener that's been following the Wake.Show from the beginning. You are going, hey, Elliot, hey, Chris, how's everybody doing? Hey, John, you are calling them by their name.
All right. Thank you. That does make me feel a little bit better. Learn people's names, easier said than done. Also, it can be taken over the top too, because this is something that is taught. There's been a handful of times in my career where you're either you're dealing with a salesperson. Usually it's that kind of a person, and they say your name a lot. Chris, let me tell you about this. Chris. Oh yeah, Chris. Okay. And you just want to reach and go, stop. We've connected. You know my name. Stop acting like you like me. I know you're just trying to get money out of my wallet. Sorry. This will be our last one, because this is the best one.
Okay.
This is one of the best ones that I came across out of all 50 this morning.
Yeah.
Handwritten thank you notes.
Mm-hmm.
He or she took the time to send the gift. Take the time to show you care. Now, this is where I'm from. Now, my mom wanted us to be a little bit more classy. I could sit there and make jokes that we were a little white trash and Ocoee and da-da-da-da. And you could probably pull out some moments from our childhood that we go, that's a good example of white trashiness. But for the most part, my mom did try to class us up. No matter what my dad, who was born and raised on a farm, tried to do to undo that. So this is one of the things that she would try to get us to do as kids, but I hated it. I hated it so much, and I think it's because I hated my handwriting, and it was just so arduous for me that I wasn't good at it. My wife, however, is somebody who was raised, and she writes a thank you note for everything.
Yeah, that's
How about
very
you?
Classy. I try to do it as much as I can. My wife helps me out with this a lot too. But yeah, this is definitely something I need to work on, is doing more of this.
So the other day, remember, was it Monday? I brought up a thank you note from, and this was so cool. My niece Ruby is 6, 7-ish, somewhere right there, and she left a little note when we watched their dogs over the weekend. I'm cleaning up around the kitchen. I see this little piece of paper, and it says "Thank you for letting," and she spelled letting, and future Ruby, please don't think I'm making fun of you right now. I think it is adorable that you spelled letting, Ledig. Letting our dog stay with you for the weekend. Love, the Fishers, or something like that. But that just brightened up my day.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Brightened up, not just because it was my niece and it was adorable, and I thought, oh my gosh, my brother and his wife, they're raising their kids right and all this good stuff. It brightened up my day, and that is the point of this.
Yeah.
A handwritten thank you note. Very simple. It You don't have to worry about your handwriting. That doesn't matter. When you guys got married and you sent out all the thank you notes, did you guys sit down together as a couple and write all the thank you notes, or did she do most of it?
No, we did it together. We did it together, but she's got much better handwriting than I do. But there's a tip, so I think it'd probably be helpful to give people this tip on how to make thank you notes easier. All right. This was one of those things that we learned at Dale Carnegie. So like when you receive something as like an award, they have that strategy. It's like T-cut. So it's thank you, give credit, how are you going to use it, and thank you again. So T-C-U-T, T-cut.
Right, T-cut.
Right. So probably you can just use that same thing, except get rid of the C part. You don't need to give credit for a gift, like thank you for giving me this, I really earned it, or any of that kind of stuff, right? But just tell somebody how you're going to use it. It makes it really easy, because it's like, how are you supposed to? What goes into a thank you note? Just say, hey, thank you for giving me, that. Like, I'm going to put it right here, and we're going to look at it, and it's going to make me think about whatever, or just explain how you're going to use it. There's like your 2 or 3 sentences you need for your thank you note, and they'll really appreciate it because they're going to find that, hear that you found it useful. It's going to be fantastic. But it makes it real easy, because it's like, that's the hardest part, is what do you put in a thank you note?
I learned how to write a thank you note after the wedding, and it was a formula. But don't think that it was like there wasn't thought put into each one. But the formula was in the first sentence was thanking them, or saying we had a great time at the wedding. If we had a chance to actually chat, to bring up that moment, to see you, The second was thank you for whatever it is they gave us. I can't wait to use it, And that was it. Then love, and you're on to the next one. And I had anxiety because I hate my handwriting so much, and I know how I can be, and So it ended up being one of those exercises for me of, listen, it doesn't matter. People are going to get this from you. You got the pictures on the other side. You sit the fancy, because they're the fancy thank you cards, of course. And they're just going to look at that. They're going to see that you just sent a thank you card. They're going to look at that handwriting and go, yep, Chris wrote that.
Right.
They're not going to think that Lauren wrote that at all. And there you go. You've had that moment of impact, and
exactly.
There you go.
Plus, that handwriting is a sign of intelligence. Just ask any doctor.
Oh, really?
All right.
All right. So this all came from Country Living, and then the last thing that I wanted to bring up. You can leave because if the 10 minutes is up or what. But as I was reading through this, one of the thoughts that I wanted to bring up and share with you guys, for those of you that are, looking at this, going, yeah, this is what's wrong with the world today. Nobody's following these lessons, and this and this and this and this and this. This is a good time to remind you, and to remind myself, to, instead of sitting and going, this is the way America should be, or the world should be, and be angry that not everybody's like this. This is the opportunity for you to be the change you want to see in the world, for me to be the change I want to see in the world. So when I'm out, I like this list, and I want to keep this in the front of my mind, and make sure that I do a better job at handwriting thank you notes. And when I'm opening a door for a person, I'm not looking for the thank you back. I'm doing it because I want to make that moment for that person just a little bit easier. They don't have to worry about the door. They can walk right in. If I get a thank you, great. If not, no worries. But go be and do the same. Do the same. When you go out and try to practice all these things, don't get angry, or you can't help it, can you? You can't help in those moments, because it's a visceral thing. So
yeah, I would say have no expectations. Like, have zero expectations from anyone about anything, and you'll be fine.
And if you do find yourself starting to that feeling inside because that person didn't reciprocate in that moment, didn't give you the thank you needed, or the nod, or the smile, and you feel it, stop, just breathe it out and go, all right, this is it's time for me to commune with whatever it is I think I believe in, and realize and figure out why this is my issue in this moment, not that other person's issue.
Yeah, why do you always have to get something back?
Right.
You don't.
You don't. All right, so that's the point I want to make there. Thank you so much for having the conversation with me about etiquette this morning and niceties in the world.
Of course.
Thank you, Cords. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, and I'll give credit to my mom and grandmother.
As well you should.
Exactly. Thank you,
Cords. All right, we'll bring in Sam for, I don't know much time that I have her left. Let's go over. You're doing social? Right. Oh, and then you're back into a meeting? Okay. Ellie, this is going from etiquette to nihilism. Expect nothing good from anyone ever. Okay.
Just expectations. You shouldn't have expectations.
Just don't have expectations. You should get it. You know, the satisfaction, the gratification out of just making somebody's life easier for a second. Right. That's it. Thank you, Rick Danford. Welcome. Farmer Bill, looking for a shameless plug for Tilly's Tavern and Grill in Eustis. All right, Tilly's Tavern and Grill in Eustis. I've been that way in a long time. Elliot, I usually ask everyone in front of me in line if I can cut them. And they should all let you in front of the line and then not be angry that you're there, I think is the lesson that we're learning today. All right, let's bring up some of the stuff that we have in Stuff You Should Know today. Oh, let me see if I got a message back from Eric Stratman. I'm a horrible producer. Because I messaged him like right before.
Did you see this story about the 2 Titusville cops who bought cocaine?
No.
My boyfriend's from Titusville, so that's why I know that.
And it didn't surprise him at all?
No.
It wouldn't surprise me. It doesn't. I'm sorry. If I hear something like that coming out of Titusville, Melbourne,
Titusville,
Cocoa Beach, Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach, Ponce Inlet, I don't know why. Just doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I guess because I lived over in Daytona for a while.
Space Center's cool, though.
It is. Listen, there's a lot of great areas over there. All right, so let me check up on Eric real quickly. Let's do 12:10. Oh, shit.
Oh.
Damn.
I think he means 12:20.
I just saw this. Exclamation point. Can you do right now? Question mark. Question, spelled out question mark. All right. While I'm waiting to hear back from Eric, we'll talk a little health today. Let's go over the stuff you should know that I've pulled out. What the? Is that you?
That's you.
It's not me. I don't have that. Oh, that's Messenger. Hold on. Let me see. Come on. You can do it. You can do it faster. Come on.
That's not me. Yes, it is.
Here we go. I think it's working. There we are. Let me pull off the stuff you should know. So here, and bring in Mr. Eric Stratman, fitness expert, dietitian. Are you? Oh wait, I don't want to put any false labels on you. That you're a nutrition expert.
You could say that.
I could say that. All right, I will say that then. Welcome back, man. How you doing?
Dietitian. Are you?
There we go. No, listen. I like to hear listening to myself in the background. I don't want to hear.
Yeah, it's good because I had to set myself up where I could see what was being seen, so I didn't know, if I should look or not move my hands or how wide it was.
Well, first of all, let's see the color of your fingernails this week. Still got looking good.
Killing.
Looking good.
Oh,
buddy.
heck yeah.
Off. My daughter needs to redo them.
You need a touch up. Did she put any, enamel on it, or you got the acrylic? That's what I'm thinking of, acrylic.
No. We go straight paint.
All right. Well, welcome back to the show. How are you doing this week?
Excellent. Yourself?
I am swell. Thanks for asking. Let's talk about. I want to talk about the balance in nutrition when we're talking about protein. We're talking about carbohydrates, fats, sugars, all that kind of stuff, and what we should be putting in what should we be shooting for day in and day out when it comes to servings of vegetables and fruits versus our meat portions versus, I guess, the next category is what? The starches?
Yeah, so, we look at, a lot of people are understanding the SAD diet, the Standard American Diet, and it's exactly what that acronym says is SAD, because, they're looking at having starch and grains and dairy and, where you get multiple servings of carbohydrates in on your plate, and then a very minimal amount of protein, and trying to add, fruit, vegetables, starches, grains, and dairy to make sure we support agriculture, which I'm not against supporting agriculture, but to try to stuff all that on your plate is a big problem. So it's really looking at, I love the Barry Sears. We used to follow the zone diet for a long time, but when people don't have a way of measuring their food, if you go using your hand, so protein the size of your palm.
Okay.
I'll back up so you can see it. Protein size of your palm, vegetables and fruits the size of your hand, and if you're looking at your plate, and fat the size of your thumb.
Huh. What are some of the misconceptions or some of the things that we've learned just in the last 25 years? You know, you and I grew up in the 80s hearing, you know, different kinds of diets. I remember my mom doing some grapefruit diet coming out of the 70s. What have we learned in modern health that was completely the opposite from when you and I were growing up?
Yeah, the whole fat-free thing was a big problem. I think probably the biggest that we've had in nutrition since you and I, you know, started seeing this, you know, grapefruit and, you know, where's carbs, where's it at? Because when things became fat-free, then what happened is they made the, you know, this is where the false sugars came out, because when things have no fat, they taste terrible. So that way I had a little computer.
You've got an
issue
alarm.
here. All right, we're good.
You've got an alarm going off on your end. I've
There
got one of my dogs, you know, barking on the other end. What the hell's going on around here today?
Nice.
Right,
So yeah, what we want to do is just ensure that this thing shuts off. All right, there we go. So there's a touch screen in front of me, and if you even talk in front of it,
it starts.
It just starts going nuts. So anyway, yeah, with the fat-free, you know, it really put a big push on the side of sugar or sweeteners, because you had to make food taste good. If you took the fat out of it, that made it taste good. It's like eating a very hard piece of steak or eating something that's marbled. It tastes a lot better with that fat in it. Same thing with like a yogurt or a you know, a protein bar, any of it. When everything's fat-free, there's a problem. So it's, you know, food was designed with fat in it because it's supposed to have that fat. We want to make sure that, you know, it's there and able to produce what it's supposed to, but our body needs fat, our body needs carbs, our body needs protein. We don't need to avoid any of them, and all these diets have that theme of avoid all the carbs or avoid all the fat or be low protein, and we need to have all of them.
And so when we were talking about the artificial sweeteners, where are you? Where's your opinion stand? Because I feel like, you know, let's throw up aspartame first. That one is one that people have been railing against for years. Cancer. But then I scour the news every single day for years and years and years, and I see research after research that will come out and go, once again, aspartame does not cause cancer. That study was flawed, multiple studies afterwards, this, and this. So then I take that to a nutritionalist or whatever, a nutritionist, a dietitian, someone who specializes in this, and I go, see, but look at this research, and they go, okay, well, it may not cause cancer, but I still don't like aspartame because it does . So where are you when it comes to, you know, how do you sweeten your food if you're, you know, what do you tell your clients?
Use real sugar.
So now we're back to real
there
sugar
you go.
again.
Well, this is, you know, it's funny because, you know, the whole thing with like the aspartame and Splendas and all this stuff that came out and sucralose and these is because it was the calories, right? They wanted to have a calorie-free sweetener. So if you're putting these calorie-free sweeteners in your food, what it's ultimately doing is still stimulating your brain as if you ate sugar. So it's still releasing insulin, which is an inflammation and storage hormone. So that just has a whole bookshelf of reasons that you don't want to have it in your system. So that's still giving you the same issue as sugar does, but the other issue with it is it's like one of my friends, Dr. Sosa, used to explain. He's over there at West Chase Chiropractic, little Tampa plug. We worked closely together because my gym was a mile away from his office, and we worked with a lot of clients together. And I loved his example is, if you think about eating plastic, how many calories does plastic have? Well, it doesn't have any. You know, you're not going to worry about it. But what does your body do with that plastic? It's now a toxin, and it's got to find a way to it can't metabolize it. So then your liver's got to try to work with it, kidneys, your body's functioning overtime. And then that's where we get people to realize, like, hey, if you're putting this toxic sweetener in your system at all times, you're going to up your body fat, because fat is one of those things that is protects against toxins in your body. So your body will store toxins inside of a fat cell to protect against it. So when you detox your body, it allows all those toxins to come out of your system. Then your metabolism can reset and your body can naturally burn fat. It won't just, where you see all these people all the time, I can't ever lose this fat, I can't lose it. But if they're killing, diet sodas and they're, using Splenda in their coffee and, they have all these calorie reduced things that have these additives in it, they're just making themselves more and more toxic and less capable to function properly.
All right, Eric. We'll pick it up there next week then on how to the best way to detox yourself and get your metabolism your system kicked in properly. Eric Stratman, TNL Nutrition Coaching. You can track him down on Facebook. Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Take it easy. Talk to you soon. All right. Did you learn anything? Or do we have to have him back next week?
Looks like we're gonna have to have him back.
That was such a dad joke. That was my father. Sorry about that. That was my dad. Come home from school. Did you learn anything today, or do you have to go back tomorrow? And it took me years. It took me years to come up with a response for that. I'm like, man, he gets me every time. It's like I'm walking up to an oracle, and they're asking me a question that can't be answered. Did you learn anything today, or do you have to go back tomorrow? And finally, I think I was well into junior high school. That's middle school for you kids. I finally came up with a retort, and that is, I learned nothing today. I do have to go back tomorrow. All right. Good morning, Chris, Jeff. Thank you for coming on, Eric, Maria, Vinny, Andy, Michael, Hilda, Lorna. Thank you so much for watching today. And when you get the opportunity, if you could like and follow the Wake.Show on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I think that's obviously become just as important as our Facebook. If not,
absolutely,
we might have to make a kind of focus our efforts a little bit more on YouTube, depending on the way how this Facebook thing plays out, their new algorithms and whatnot.
They're killing us.
All right, so talk about Restream and how relatable is this discussion to everybody else, or is this more of an off-air kind of a thing?
Off-air.
Oh, definitely an off-air?
Yeah,
okay,
I mean,
then just make it quick. I saw Restream tweeting stuff.
Yeah, Restream's being weird. I'm gonna have to. I think probably John set it up more than likely, so I'm going to have to figure out what the login credentials are, or if you give them to me.
So did I mess up and go into because here's what Restream is. This is one of the tools that we use to make sure that we can syndicate, so that when we're doing this, we've got our encoder software here, and it pushes out to Facebook and YouTube and all the platforms we push out to, Periscope, Twitter, and obviously you can have little settings there. And I have a feeling that I allowed Restream to post on our behalf, and so that's what it's doing, right?
Correct.
Mother effers. I love the times we live in. I hate the times we live in. There's so many cool things that come along with the times that we live in. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you feel like all those cool things are just to set you up so they can get you plugged into their system and slowly leak your data, leak your information, leak your blood right out of you.
Honestly.
And then until they get to that point where they get that $2.99 a month, or that $4.99 a month, or that $9.99 a month forever.
And then they're like, you don't have enough space. We need to upgrade you to premium.
Is that what they're tweeting out?
Basically, yeah. So we'll have to figure out why it's taken control of our social accounts.
All right, so let's get to some stuff you should know. Unfortunately, the first thing is not on the list. This was breaking news this morning, and a woman was badly beaten in Lake Marjorie Park. She died a week later. That happened today. So obviously condolences going out to that family. But this is a park that's right around, my wife and I moved into it. I'm hidden behind the...
There we go.
My wife and I moved to Pinellas Point, and this park is just north of us on MLK, and I drive by it a lot when I'm going downtown. There we go. I drive by it a lot when I'm going downtown, and I'm looking at I rarely ever see anybody out there, but it is humongous, and it's on a lake, and so I was like, oh, maybe it's a place I need to take the dog. So you see this morning, like, oh, maybe it's not. However, within the story, I did find that they don't have a lot of issues in that area. And they have a lot of questions as of a couple hours ago, they still have a lot of questions on what happened, the motive and how it went down, and who did it. Obviously, they're still looking for. So let's get to the first thing on my list today. And that is, I didn't line them up. I don't think I lined them up in order like I normally do for myself.
It's okay. We'll hop around.
So I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't even know this was up for discussion. But our Senate here in the state of Florida has okayed a bill for year-round daylight savings. So once we go into daylight savings in the spring, we never go back.
What?
Right.
They can decide that? Isn't that just the cyclical timing of the Earth?
Well, technically, you pick one. Just pick one and stick with it. It would technically be what you're talking about, but that would be the opposite of daylight savings.
Right.
That would be Eastern Standard Daylight. I don't know, whatever that is.
That is very bizarre.
So Florida is one step closer to living up to its nickname as the Sunshine State. Now, when I get to the end of the story, you're going to see the rationale. And I'm curious on what you guys think. Like, okay, this is good enough rationale, or does this just seem odd? I feel like there's something else. I feel like there's an industry behind this, or some lobbyist that this is going to benefit them financially.
Probably.
And they've got a lot of power. I'm not sure. I obviously am a little jaded when it comes to government. Florida's one step closer to living up to its nickname, the Sunshine State. A bill to let Florida remain on daylight saving time, year-round, is headed to Governor Rick Scott's desk. And it was approved 33-2, so it's damn near unanimous. So everybody's on board. They must know something. This doesn't make sense, because I feel like you can't F around with time. Like, I feel like there's going to be an equal and opposite of whatever good they think this is going to be. There's going to be an equal and opposite that would really cancel it out in the end. And then we're just trying to control time. And should people be trying to play God? There you go. There's an argument. If Scott signs the Sunshine Protection Act.
The Sunshine Protection Act.
Hey, man, we got to protect the sunshine.
Interesting.
Congress would need to amend existing federal law to allow the change. So even if you're like, hey, we want to do this, they still have to go to the federal level and say, hey, is it okay if we do this? And so, yeah, I'm not too sure why this is such a thing, or why, out of all the issues out there, what is going on. But they do explain it here at the end. It's not good enough for me, but here we go. So while the rest of the eastern United States would set their clocks back in fall, Florida would not, leaving it with more sunshine in the evening during the winter. Northwest Florida is currently in the central time zone. For those who might not know, daylight savings time, I always say that. I'm sorry that I say it wrong, because I know it's a pet peeve for some people and it annoys you. So take a deep breath. That's you, not me. Daylight saving time was first enacted by the federal government in 1918 during World War I as a way to...
She was sitting right on the cord for my headphones, so I was like, what is going on? And I looked down, and she's just sitting directly on it.
That's Roxy. Come here, JoJo. What
Joey's a little rambunctious today.
Buddy. What's going on? What am I barking
sweetie.
about? Come here, buddy. Why don't you come over here? Oh, Mr. Stretchy. Mr. Stretchy. We don't have a camera. We only have 2 cameras in here today. We don't have a camera on. I'm sorry.
Roxy and I are bonding.
So here's what they're saying. It is thought to be safer. Studies have found that the roads are safer during the spring when it's lighter longer, reducing pedestrian fatalities by 13% during dawn and dusk hours. All right, so they're saying if we switch to this, there's going to be a 13% decrease in fatal car accidents.
All right.
But I want to delve into these studies. I want to learn more, because, listen, politicians very rarely make laws like this because it's helping regular people. It's usually because it's benefiting those who are already doing okay. Another study found the number of robberies down 10% following the spring shift to daylight saving time. So I guess one of the arguments is if we do this, there'll be less robberies as well. 7%, not that big a number, and especially considering the accuracy of this particular number. So if the bill is signed into law, it could help us stay a little healthier, according to what they're telling us. One study found that the risk of heart attack increases the Monday and Tuesday following the springtime change.
What?
So they're saying when we spring ahead, there is heart attack goes up. Heart attack rates go up.
Why?
Because when we spring ahead, we lose an hour, and it throws off your system. For those that are a little on the edge, they're teetering. It's enough to send them into a cardiac arrest, I guess. Because you
my
lose that
God.
hour, it stresses people, stresses out your system. It takes a few days to get acclimated. But if this
That's horrific.
if this goes through, then we will have daylight savings time. Daylight saving time year round. Daylight saving time was an attempt to control time. This is just going back to acting normal. Well, no, I would agree with you, Elliot, if they got rid of daylight saving time. But what they're proposing is that once we go to daylight saving time, we don't fall back. So the falling back part is when we are on, I guess, natural time. It's that daylight saving time that we're trying to trick time for half a year. So I would agree with you if that's what they were doing, but they're saying, well, this time once we go light, we'll never go back.
Yeah.
Great one, Fish. Great one. Hawaii, most of Arizona, and a handful of U.S. territories, including American Samoa, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands do not observe daylight saving time at all. So if we were to join that crowd, I guess I'd understand that. Mm-hmm. But what we are proposing is we're gonna stay in daylight saving time forever, and that we'll be healthier, that there'll be less accidents on the road, and there'll be less robbery.
All right.
And more time for people to spend money. So, next up on Stuff You Should Know Today. Hey, buddy, there you are. Come here, JoJo.
Oh,
All right.
Joey.
You all right, little man? What was setting you off? Who was out in the hall? Who's causing all that ruckus out there? All right. Hey, Daddy's trying to do the news. Daddy's trying to do stuff you should know. Look at that big yawn. Get in there, buddy. Nobody wants to see me. They just want to see you. I want to see your little adorableness. What do I have on my list? Act of kindness. So, well, you know what? Let me do this because I don't want to pull off this the header and the stories and the highlighter and the background. There we go. It gives us some more room to work with. Let's just go through some of the stuff we have. All right.
All right.
We'll start right here. Forbes Billionaires 2018. Meet the richest people on the planet. How much do you think Bezos is worth?
I was about to say it. I was like, I know Jeff's on there.
Jeff Bezos, top of the list. Well, he added, we'll get to it here in a second. He added another, I can't remember what it is, but before I scroll down, take a guess. How much do you think he's worth? Ballpark.
I don't even know. Oh, God, more than I can ever imagine in my life.
More or less than 10 billion.
More.
More or less than 50 billion.
All right, let me throw out a guess. This might be too high. I'm going to say, let's do like an odd number, like $62 billion.
$62 billion. Let's find out here. The gap between the really rich and the merely rich continues to widen as fortune soars to new heights. A record 2,208 billionaires made Forbes' 32nd annual ranking of the world's billionaires. So on the planet, 2,200 billionaires right now. Altogether, they're worth $9.1 trillion. That's up 18% from last year. Good. I'm glad you guys are making money. I was getting a little worried that you might stay stagnant. So that, by the way, is roughly the equivalent to the annual economic output of Mexico. In aggregate, they may represent less than 1% of total billionaires, but their riches amount to 13% of the total fortune of all billionaires worldwide. Oh, that's the 20 richest people on the planet. I'm sorry. The 20 richest people on the planet are worth a staggering $1.2 trillion. So here we go. Jeff Bezos is the richest person on the planet, and the first centibillionaire.
What?
Do you know centibillionaire? Can
No.
you put that together? Cent?
Over 100.
Over 100.
All right, so I was wrong.
Atop our annual ranking, shares of e-commerce giant Amazon rose 59% in the last 12 months, helping boost his fortune by $39 billion just in the last year. He boosted his fortune just in the last 12 months by $39 billion.
By just $39 billion.
It was the biggest one-year gain since Forbes started tracking billionaires in 1987. He easily moved ahead of Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, who seated the top spot for only the sixth time since 1995. He also gives away a lot of his money, too. So there you go. I forget what the total. He was worth 120 something billion. I think I saw somewhere. And then it just goes through, all the other billionaires. And I don't know that we need to go down that path, because what's it going to do? It's just going to depress all of us. That's all it's going to do. Hey, JoJo, what story you want to do next, buddy? Oh, story about kisses.
I saw my home county on there.
You saw your home? Oh, Pasco?
Pasco County.
Okay. Wait, is this next story? You see the Pasco County?
No, I saw the Pasco deputy fired or something like that.
Okay, that's at the end of our list today. We can go right there. This sucks. I hate to see this from law enforcement. I have a lot of respect. I couldn't do law enforcement.
Oh.
And I know that you're held to a higher standard, as well you should be. And I just like to pretend that you're all doing the best that you can, and you're doing the best for the community. But you have these weirdos too. Pasco County Deputy. Where in Pasco are you from? Are you Land O'Lakes?
No, I'm from Newport Richey.
Oh, the NPR.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Joseph. Hi, JoJo. Land O'Lakes. A Pasco County deputy has been fired after he was arrested for touching a woman against her will and placing semen on her. Do you need more details?
That's all right.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm gathering from the story. I think they once dated, maybe, or something. Anyway, this guy, this particular guy, and I'm going to put him up the screen now.
Oh, yeah, because Pasco does Live PD, which is the A&E show.
So, yeah, he's one of the deputies
I remember
featured.
him. Oh, no.
You do? Okay.
I do.
So this guy here, I'm not sure. It doesn't say that. It says, quote, he and the victim were not involved in an ongoing dating relationship at the time of this incident. So that makes me think that they might have dated at some point. So here's what happened. This was February, the day after Valentine's Day. He was off duty. He arrived at the victim's home and told the victim he needed to discuss a serious incident that he had witnessed. The victim met Mercado outside in the driveway and repeatedly asked him to leave. According to arrest documents, Mercado then masturbated in front of the woman. She repeatedly told him to leave. Mercado then used his finger to place semen on the victim's breast above the neckline of her shirt, and then attempted to place it on the victim's lips prior to her pulling away. What the?
He was arrested and terminated.
How does stuff like this happen? I don't understand. Can you fathom? Can you share with me a scenario where I can see this? I can see how this led to this fish. This is what happened. They probably ABC. I don't know how this kind of stuff happens.
I don't know. People are people at the end of the day. No matter what job you hold, sometimes people are they're a little unhinged.
Yeah. All right, Joey. There you go, buddy. You go back to barking at whatever you were barking at. All right. So that's coming from your home county.
Oh yes. Someone just said there's nowhere like NPR. I'm like, yeah, there's really not.
This is in here. I'm not going to get the audio, I don't think. Huh. Bueno. I guess we weren't meant to have the audio. Up next, to give or not to give to the homeless, the street, people on the street corner.
This is very interesting to me.
It is always a great debate, a great topic. To give or not to give, should you hand over $1 to a homeless person on a street corner? From TampaBay.com. So what do you do? What do you guys do? Is it, if you have an extra $1 in your pocket and you happen to be there in one of those situations, no problem, you hand it out the window? Or do you not do that ever? Or is it kind of sometimes I'm feeling like it, sometimes I'm not feeling like it?
So something happened to me yesterday while I was on the way home from work, and I was sitting trying to get onto I-275 North. So
Okay.
it's just in, the traffic line, trying to come home. And this man was coming up and down, just like walking, doing his routes for panhandling. And I don't have tinted windows yet. I just got a new car, so I haven't tinted them yet. So I'm just sitting there, like, looking straight ahead. I don't really pay much attention to him. He comes up next to my window and stops and kind of just like turns his head and looks at me. And I mean, I don't have tinted windows. I'm in the car alone. So
And then what happened?
I mean, I didn't look at him, but I could see him out of my like peripheral vision looking at me, and I was like, oh, I don't like this at all. Like, I was really nervous. I didn't want him to like, he was pretty close to my window. Like, he was next to me.
Like within feet?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh,
I was
he's right there,
I was
okay.
on the I was in the left lane, so it's like the concrete median, and that's where he's standing, and then I'm in the left lane, and he's just staring at me through my window, and I was like, oh, this is the worst feeling, because I do feel bad, but also that's like violating my personal
Right,
space,
yeah.
and like I don't want to.
Did he have his pants on?
Thank God, yes,
All right,
he did. But yeah, so I feel like there's some instances where they're crossing the line.
Max says there's nowhere like NPR, Newport Richie. And then Elliot says, I'll give them $1, no problem. I know they might spend it on alcohol, but I'm definitely going to spend it on alcohol. So
That's funny.
And that brings us to the story now, because that's one of the issues that they bring up. And I guess this is being brought up because of something the Pope said recently. On Tuesday morning, a stream of cars headed into downtown Tampa brakes for a red light at Platt Street. On the curb by a Walgreens stands a man holding a cardboard sign, chest level, in his dirty hands. Anything helps. God bless, it says. A window rolls down, and a dollar bill pokes out. So if you were to give this man any money, would you have just did the little crack in the window and slid it out? You have to. As a female,
Yeah.
you can't just roll down that window all the way.
I mean, I have anxiety, so even if it's someone like my trust issues when I'm alone, like I can't really defend myself adequately. So
I understand. So the window rolls down. For most motorists. So here we go. To give or not to give. No less than Pope Francis weighed in on this morality versus reality quandary, telling an Italian magazine last year that giving money to someone in need is always right. Giving someone the money in need is always right. What do you think about that? If wine is what if it's spent on wine? So that's the first question right there. So what if wine is the person's only happiness? That's okay, the Pope said. And by the way, what happiness do you seek in secret? Give, he said. Don't worry about how it's spent. You could almost hear the collective groan from public officials, police, and nonprofits that work daily on the unrelenting problem of homelessness. So this is where the story gets interesting to me, because up until this point, I'm with him. This has kind of been where my heart's always been. Whatever they spend it on, that's on them. But if in that moment I'm feeling compelled to give them $1 or $5 or $20, then I'm giving them $1 or $5 or $20. That's not exactly true anymore. Now that I'm a married man, my wife will not allow me to give that kind of money away. So that money has to now come out of my personal drinking fund. So I then just buy a bottle and split it with the guy. Just kidding. So this next part of the story is where we talk about the quandary of morality versus reality. So the next quote is a random act of enabling, not a random act of kindness. Not that you're doing something good in that moment that helps that person, but the argument is you are doing the exact opposite in that moment. A random act of enabling is what Philip Mangano, homeless czar under President George W. Bush, calls this kind of well-intentioned donating. There's not a shred of evidence that random giving improves the life of a homeless person. Donated money, say Mango and others, would be better spent on programs that provide specific support services to get people into housing. They say handing over a few dollars to someone who says he is hungry or a veteran only makes it easier for the most stubborn population, the chronically homeless, to keep on living difficult lives outside because they get barely enough to make it through that day. And it's not like, oh, well, I helped them through that day with some toothpaste and a nice ham sandwich. You helped them get the substances that they need to get through that day, which I'm sure might have included a sandwich somewhere along the way. Will this stop you from giving $1, though? Will this stop me from giving $1? I'm a case by. I don't always just give. I used to be more like that, where I just whatever. Here you go. Here's $1. Here's $5. Here's $20. These in recent years, this quandary has been in my head, and I don't know that it is the. But if you have the excuse, or you you are somebody, you and your family, you donate your X amount of dollars or your X percentage of dollars to charities, be it homeless or the pet charities, Pet Pal, then, I think you've done your part. If you're not doing any of that stuff, then maybe you need to throw a dollar at the homeless guy every now and again, and do it politely. Don't really ball it up and throw it at him and give him a look.
I think personally this is very interesting because I don't have a problem with people who are like walking up and down the streets. If you're not bothering anyone, you're just like, people in their cars will be like, oh, here's $1. My problem lies more in people who come up to me at gas stations or come up to me at Walmart and physically stand in front of me.
They're
and
very aggressive.
That happens a lot. I really don't like getting gas by myself because no matter where I go, people will come out from behind the pump and be like, hey, my car broke down, all this stuff. And like, I do feel bad for them, but it's just like, lying. That is, well, obvious. One person told me he walked from St. Augustine here.
Right.
And I was like,
my car broke down and I was just up the road at the Veterans Hospital visiting my father. It's all bullshit. But
they're standing right in front of you.
I've given that guy $20 before.
And that's totally your prerogative, but that's the ones that I have more of an issue with, where they're coming up to you, seeking you out, standing right in front of you and kind of boxing you off and being like, hey, can you give me money for XYZ? And you're just trying to go shopping. You're just trying to get gas and stuff. Then that's more where I have the issue.
There's a gas station that I won't even go to, that I won't even stop at anymore. And it used to be, it's a really convenient one on my way. Say I'm coming from Tampa and I'm heading back to St. Pete. It's 54th Avenue. You get off of 54th Avenue. I want to say it's the same exit as the Cracker Barrel right there in St. Petersburg. Well,
a staple of St. Pete.
Of course. And I want to say I think it's a racetrack. It's been so long since I've been there, I don't remember exactly, but I believe it's a racetrack. But it's those people you're talking about. They're there at the pumps. You see them hovering around. I don't know why they don't run them away from that story, because here's the thing: right across the street, in all due respect, this is where they come from, is a trailer park, and every single one of those people, you see them walking around there. We got to do a show one day where there's no censorship. I do appreciate the ground rules that we've laid here at the Wake.Show, but I am going to have to do a podcast or something where I can speak freely. So you have these lower
class individuals. Probably.
They're drug addicts. It's
All
not
right.
that I'm not even talking about class. These are drug addicts barely holding on. They're living across the street in the well, you know what? I'm making assumptions. I'm making assumptions that this is where these, and the reason I call them zombies is because that's what they look like to me. I see them every time I go to that particular racetrack on 54th Avenue, right off 275. I have not been there, and maybe they're gone. Maybe they finally did run them off, but it happened too many times where they walk up, they give me a bullshit story about whatever's going on in their life, and I can't take it. And they make me nervous because I know they are hooked on opioids and are willing to do anything to curb that addiction, to make that feeling go away, or to get that feeling back, whatever they're looking for. So I'm a 6 foot, 45-year-old, 250-pound man, and it would make me nervous pulling in there in the daylight. So I have not been back there in a very long time, and unless I am on literally an inch below E on my in my gas tank, I will never ever go back to that place ever again. So we have, because of the drug addiction issue that we have, you can't trust, that moment you were talking about, Sam, where you have a guy a few feet outside of your door while you're sitting there waiting for the light to turn green, and you want to be nice and turn and roll down that window. You don't know what's going to happen in that moment, and it sucks. But what do you do?
No, exactly. And like I said, not knocking people who do give money to them, because that's great on you. I just personally, I don't feel comfortable when someone's standing directly next to me, staring through my car window to give them money. Well, that's not my next train of thought.
Right. And so what some people say, or they kind of equate it to the tourists whom we love so much here in the state of Florida. And it sounds like I might be being a little sarcastic. I'm not. There's a reason, we don't pay state income taxes because of the great tourism industry we have here in the state of Florida. However, there is some shit you have to deal with people who are ignorant and are on vacation, and they think they can do, whatever they want. So if you're like me and you're out at the beach a lot, and you see these jackasses, they come out to the restaurants and they see an effing seagull or a pigeon, and they're enamored by a seagull or a pigeon. They start breaking out the French fries and tossing them around, and next thing you know, you're being swarmed. They think it's so great, but they're getting ready to leave and head back to England, wherever they're from, and we're sitting there getting shat on. So, obviously, that is a very passionate issue of mine. Please don't feed the seagulls. They're fine. They'll eat your cigarette butts when you're gone. But this is they kind of say the same thing here, is that you're not just not helping these people by giving them a few dollars at a time. If you really want to make a difference, then save that money and donate it to causes, donate it to organizations who are designed to help these people as much as we can help these people. So at the same time, then you're right. They coming back to the same street corners, the same parts of town, not getting any help, and making Sam nervous. I'm going to put this all on you. Donated money, says Mangano and others, would be better spent on programs that provide specific support services or get people into housing. They say handing over a few dollars to someone who says he is hungry or veteran only makes it easier for the most stubborn population, the chronically homeless, to keep living difficult lives outside and keep going back to the same places over and over and over again to get that money. Salt Lake City took a jarringly hardcore version of this message to its downtown streets last year with billboards that say, support panhandlers, you support alcoholism, and also crime and drug trafficking. These signs encourage donations to service providers instead. And in the end, that is the best way to go. It's just hard sometimes. I guess for those of you that don't have as much empathy as people like me, it's not as difficult. And for some people, too, they compartmentalize it. So when they see that homeless person on the street, they don't see somebody who's down and out. They see somebody who is lazy and has given up on life and now is looking for the path of least resistance to make it day in and day out. And they look down on them. So however you want to help, figure it out. Next up, all right, it's just kind of a salacious story coming out of Nashville. The Nashville mayor had to resign on Tuesday. A sex scandal, a thieving scandal, and it's a woman. Megan Barry is her name. The Nashville mayor who resigned Tuesday amid an affair scandal pleaded guilty. Now, we're going through the details of this because if you guys haven't seen this story, this is some crazy shit. Because the way that it's laid out, it basically looks like she was paying her boyfriend to be her guard and escort. So technically, her boyfriend was an escort. Like prostitute, kind of, sort of. All right, we'll get back to it. Megan Barry, the Nashville mayor who resigned Tuesday amid an affair scandal, pleaded guilty to a $10,000 felony theft tied to the affair. How does that come into play? It's because, well, let's get back to it. Barry admitted in January to an affair with Rob Forrest. That is her head of security and a 31-year officer on the Metro Nashville Police Force. Both are married, and the admission upended her political career. Now, according to the district attorney Glenn Funk, Barry spent over $10,000, but less than $60,000, in city funds on Forrest. The officer escorted Barry to. So here we go. Picture this. Imagine this, if you will. There she is. Look at that big old grin.
Wait, that was her mugshot just now?
That's her mugshot. Well, she's a politician. When politicians, they've been taught, they've been coached.
That doesn't look like a very happy grin, though.
Well, they've been coached to, don't get up there and, look like. Murr.
That's one of distress right there.
Yeah, get up there and look like this. So it's not when it's plastered all over the newspapers, you look all right. So he would escort her to hot yoga classes, hip restaurants, and late night concerts, racking up hundreds of overtime hours, even when the mayor had no events on her calendar. So he'd go and basically be her date to all of these things, banging her, and then she was making sure that he was getting paid for it.
Wow.
As part of the plea agreement, Barry agreed to reimburse the city $11,000 in restitution, resign as mayor, and serve 3 years probation. There she goes. Look at that politics. Love it. You wonder why there's so many people who are anti-government. So many people hate their politicians. We got 5 things you need to know coming from TampaBay.com today about Florida's gun politics. So this is kind of where we are as we're trying to keep up with what's going on with gun votes, teachers being armed, guns being taken away. Oh, yeah. Here we are today. That was my great intro for this segment. The Florida House set to vote on arming school staff. The Florida Senate on Monday narrowly approved a bill that would implement a 3-day wait to buy firearms, install a minimum age of 21 to buy any gun, and launch a voluntary statewide program to train school personnel to carry concealed weapons. After hours of debate on Tuesday, the House appears poised to do the same thing today. All right. Number 2, Hillsborough County Commission to weigh weapons ban. In 2011, state legislators passed a law prohibiting local governments from instituting their own gun rules. This is something that we've talked about on the show. This is why people hate government, because of the horrible hypocrisy. This is when the Republicans had control. The Republicans how do they sell themselves to us? We are the party of personal responsibility. We're the party of small government. Leave it to the local level. Unless, of course, the NRA comes and give you millions of dollars to make sure that nobody on the local level can ever touch any gun laws without going through the state. And if you try to, we're going to fine you and kick you out. So that is horribly a lot of hypocrisy there. And so this happened in 2011. Now, despite this, the Hillsborough County Commission will weigh restrictions proposed by Commissioner Les Miller. Now, this is illegal. By state law, this is illegal. Les Miller cannot propose these things. They can't make any moves to tweak gun control at all, because the NRA passed a law. No, you're going to say it's a state legislator in 2000. No. It was the NRA. Passed a law in 2011. That's how powerful they are. This is not about being anti-gun. This is about the NRA. And So follow for days. So here we go. Number 3. The same state law that forbids local governments from enacting their own gun rules also allows the governor to remove any local official who does so. So does that mean Governor Rick Scott would remove Hillsborough County Commissioner Les Miller from his elected post for his proposal today? Scott's office said the governor will review whatever decisions are made in Tampa Bay today. Now, and keep in mind, when you guys are arguing politics and you're talking politics and you start arguing with that person that says, no, their party, the Republican Party, is small government and let people handle it at the local level, you look them in the face and go, you're lying to me. Either you're lying to me or you're a moron. Because it was the Republicans in the state legislature in Florida that were all right. This is the NRA. What, Sam? Was that too much? I understand. No, go ahead, go. And they made sure that people couldn't they couldn't do their own thing in the local level, which is allegedly what that party's about. But remember, they're not. Now, if you think, oh, wow, why are you going after them and not the Democrats? Okay. I'm no party affiliation. I've been no party affiliation for a very long time. Do I have to be fair and balanced in this moment, what we're talking about, to go after the Democrats? No, I do not. I don't even know what Democrats, to me, I don't even know what Democrats are. Democrats just seem to be anti-Republican to me. I've never quite understood, but now it seems like in recent years that party is starting to drift towards being very socialist, and might be the new socialist party depending on the way elections go this year. So I'm no fan of the Democrats either, and it has nothing to do with ideology. Well, it has nothing to do with ideology. I love that the Democrats are allegedly the party of compassion and trying to help out the common folk. But I don't know that they are. I don't know what they are. I think in the end, my fears, my concerns about federal government, the big government, were reinforced when I read that piece from Jimmy Carter. And I know for those of you who've been listening following me for quite some time, I've referenced this piece quite a bit, when he outed Washington, D.C. and said, this is what it's become. It's become a oligarchy after oligarchy trying to pass power to the next person, to their next friend, to the next family member. And so You know, that's where I am on this. So yes, I am going to be angry and passionate in this moment and point my finger at one particular party in this moment for this story, and it has to do with the Republican Party, who says they are the party of small government. Let the locals handle it, unless, of course, it's an issue that, well, they want to make sure they control themselves. And the NRA, oh, thank you, NRA, for everything. Oh, NRA, you more millions of that same good stuff. Oh, and so they then take all the power away from the local level to do what they feel is right in their communities. So. Sorry about that. I just saw the playback of that little that moment. Next up, Betsy DeVos to visit students, teacher in Parkland, the latest politician to visit Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Hey! What'd I say about that, JoJo? Come here. Come here. Come here. The latest politician to visit Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School will be the Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, who is scheduled to visit the Parkland school today. Come here, buddy. I'm sorry. The thing is, they've got a shoot going on downstairs, and where they're recording stuff, and I can't have him, chirping. Come here. Roxy, you're a good girl. It's not you. Just keep your brother in line. Good girl. It wasn't you, honey. It's never you. You're the good one. And lastly, Hillsborough Pasco school boards oppose arming school staff. This is a very, very interesting topic right now about arming some people on campus. How you doing, little? Hillsborough County Superintendent Jeff Eakins has been under pressure from students, teachers, and the school board to take a stand against the legislation that would allow school employees to be armed. And on Tuesday night, he joined the opposition to that measure. The Pasco County School Board shares the opposition, but what will that mean for today's debate in Tallahassee? So that's the latest. Thank you so much to TampaBay.com for putting that in order for us. And, oh, little, I'm sorry. So my, me trying to quiet down Joey, snapping my fingers and yelling at him. She's now shivering. I'm such a jerk. I feel bad. I'm sorry, little. What do you want to talk about next? Stormy Daniels. All right, let's talk about Stormy Daniels. She's going to be suing. She wants to be able to speak, and she says that she has the right to speak because of the way this whole thing went down when President Trump's, or at the time, Donald Trump's lawyer gave her $130,000, sent her $130,000 to stay quiet about an alleged affair that he had with, or she had with him, just months after his, which one is that one? Which kid is that one? She is shaking so much. It's all right. Barron, right? Barron. It's all right, little. You want me to put you down? You can be okay. I just hate, you just want them to always be comfortable and be relaxed and have a great life. And so when they get worked up, it sucks. It's all right, little. No more kissing. It's inappropriate. I'm doing a show. All right. You go back on the couch, all right? Go lay down, and we'll get out of here in a few minutes, all right? Good girl. Keep your brother in line. Keep your brother in line while you're at it. They're not related. So, the porn star whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, here's what she's claiming. She claims in the lawsuit to have had an affair with Trump several years prior to his presidency. However, the lawsuit claims that when he was running for office and multiple women were coming forward to share stories of their alleged encounters with the then Republican presidential candidate, Cohen, the lawyer, intervened to attempt to keep her quiet. So here's the thing. Here's what they're claiming. Because you're like, well, they gave you $130,000 and you signed an agreement to stay quiet. So what's going on? She's saying that Trump never signed it. So that it was signed by the lawyer or something like that, and that this doesn't count, and that she's able to say whatever she wants to say. To be clear, the attempts to intimidate. So the lawsuit says Cohen has continued to his attempts to silence Clifford as well. Quote, to be clear, the attempts to intimidate Miss Clifford into silence and shut her up in order to protect Mr. Trump continued unabated. For example, only days ago, On or about February 27th, Mr. Trump's attorney, Mr. Cohen, surreptitiously initiated a bogus arbitration proceeding against Miss Clifford in Los Angeles. Remarkably, he did so without even providing Miss Clifford the notice of the proceeding and basic due process. A defense lawyer representing Cohen did not respond. So that's the latest on that one. I don't know if it's going to turn anything. And if it does, it's not going to change. It's not going to change the way, if the people that love him, they're not going anywhere. The people that can't stand him, this just adds more to that. No big. Yeah. So there's where we're. All right, this was too political. Gary Cohen resigns as Trump's top economic advisor. This is big in the political world, but I don't want to talk too much up politics because this allegedly he has been on his way out, or he's been writing this letter for quite some time, waiting for the right time. A lot of people think this is just has to do with the tariffs. Cohen's planned departure comes on the heels of a decision by President Donald Trump to impose stiff tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. This is something that this guy doesn't think is a good idea, but that wasn't the sole reason. From what I understand, that he stepped down, it's because I guess they're not on the same page when it comes to economic policy in general. This was one of those things. It's been in the works for a while, and he is out. And lastly, this is fun. Do I have this up here? Oh, no, I didn't even put it on my sheet today. So we'll pull this down. This last one is kind of funny. A man becomes first person convicted of sexism under new law. What? It's not America. I know that was a little bait and switch there. It's not America. But listen to this. Because this is the kind of stuff that I was concerned about, and one of the reasons I couldn't get behind, I did not vote for Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. I voted third party, not because I thought the third party was great. I just thought I would be able to, that was my protest. So I didn't like either two, and I was like, all right, so give me something else to deal with here. So people, it's, they're like, why didn't you vote for Trump? And why didn't you vote for Hillary? But one of the things that did concern me about her is I felt like this is the kind of stuff that would happen if she had gotten control. And I could be wrong, but trying to make everybody perfect, so and I know that we have freedom of speech laws, and it's not as easy to get this kind of stuff passed here in America. But one of the things, and had nothing to do with her, but for some reason, when I saw this story coming out of Canada, I could see my government trying to do the same thing. And if it were my government, then it would have been under her that this would have happened. And I didn't like it. And so here's what happened in Canada. A comedian had some jokes about a kid who had gotten national attention because, and I don't remember all the specifics, but basically he had some debilitating disease. And I want to say he was going to, it was, terminal. Like he wasn't going to make it. He became this national thing, sensation, and everybody's talking about him and rooting for him and this and this and this and this, right? Well, I guess a couple years pass, and the kid is still living. So this comedian makes a joke about, shouldn't he be dead by now or something like that, right? Horrible joke. If you're that family, you're offended. You feel like crap. This guy's a dick, that whole thing. But the story was about how the government stepped in and fined him. I want to say it was the equivalent like $25,000 or something. Fined him because of that. And my stomach just sunk. Now, yes, that guy's a jerk. In that moment, he made a family feel like crap for no reason whatsoever. He defended, but, as somebody who's a big defender of freedom of speech and expression, and, sometimes things that come out of you could pull clips of me along the way and go, oh, that guy's a jerk. But to have the government step in, that I just didn't like that. Just, ugh. And for some reason at the time, I went, if somebody's going to do something like that, it was going to be Hillary. And the reason that I could see that as such a possibility is because of, she spent the last 30 years having the right-wing radio just pound her and her husband over and over and over and over again. So I could see her, really trying to go after free speech. And so that was that. I mean, listen, I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to politics. I'm going to give you the way I see it. And it's not to change your mind or in hopes that you see it that way. It's just to give you a better understanding of me and where I'm coming from. But let's go to Belgium now. Belgian law. A man has been convicted of sexism in a public place for the first time under a new law in Belgium. A court in Brussels fined the guy 300, I'm going to go with euros, for insulting a police officer because of her gender. It comes as France prepares to create an offense of street harassment described as sexist and sexual outrage. The Belgian case involved a driver who was stopped for breaking the highway code. The young man, who has not been identified, insulted the police officer because of her gender. He was reported to have said she would be better off doing a job adapted to women. In a scene witnessed by several other people, the driver was found guilty of 3 charges: contempt of police officer, making threats, and sexist remarks in public, a serious violation of another person's dignity because of her gender. He was warned that if he failed to pay the fine, a prison term of a month would be imposed. This is the first time we've used this law to prosecute someone. It is quite common for people arrested by the police to insult and threaten, but to personally blame a policewoman because of her sex is different. It was a good case to test this law, a concrete and very clear case with many witnesses. This is obviously not always the case. So this is what we want in society, right? This is the kind of society we would like. I'm not talking about arresting people for stuff like that, where somebody's not, when they're getting arrested, they're not telling a cop, a female officer, that she should do something that's more suited for women, like cleaning the house. So that's the society we want. That's the way we want to raise our children. You're not going to talk to women like that. You're not going to talk to women in power like that. But do we pass laws like this so that people don't get their feelings hurt? Because in the end, that's all this is. If you're an officer, you should be able to take a lot of shit. And this, to me, seems kind of like at the bottom of the rung, as far as issues you're going to deal with, is some perp, pissed off, going, you're a woman. What are you doing even being a cop? She should be able to look at him and just go, you have the power in that moment. The officer has the power in that moment. The guy's an a-hole. It's too bad that you're not allowed to just reach down and punch him. But would you like to see that kind of law here in America? The law arose out of a widespread social debate in Belgium in 2012. After a documentary entitled Women of the Street revealed commonplace sexism in public. It showed a woman being insulted or receiving unsolicited proposals and hisses as she walked in Brussels. Under the law, so we don't want to see that. We'd love to see that gone from our culture, where half monkeys. I'm sorry. It's not fair. Yeah, half monkeys. Don't know how to interact with women. And wherever they come, however they were raised, wherever they are in their head, they think it's appropriate to go, hey, mama, right? That's all they know. Yeah, we don't want to see that. I don't want my daughter one day, if I ever have a daughter, having to walk through that and have those pigs, those monkeys, acting like that. But do we pass laws? Or do you raise your daughter with self-respect? Do you raise your daughter with a certain amount of awareness so in those moments she puts all those motherfuckers in this? There we go. It was coming one way or another. Sorry. I'm sorry, Cords. I'm sorry for cussing. For dropping the F-bomb. My bad. All these mother effers, put them in their place with a little comment, then they go, they laugh, and then you walk on you. And, that's just the world. Or do we need to keep passing law after law after law after law after law until we get society just perfect, where if you don't act a certain way all the time, then you're fined. You're in prison. You're downvoted. You're downvoted. Like they're doing in China right now. Like they're testing in China. It's not a full-on program until 2020. Like they're testing in China right now. You get downgraded as a citizen. Seems like it's right around the corner. All right, anything else? Joe, Rox, anything from you guys before we go? Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to the Wake.Show today. I appreciate that. Coming up tomorrow and on Friday, Chris McCarty will be back in here. Sam will be back in here as well. And we'll go through some of the topics of the day. Thank you so much for participating. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye. Where's my clouds?